Because my final responsibility is to introduce a leprechaun, and I'm not sure he could see me all the way up here on my soapbox. All kidding aside, I am honored that my good friend Jared Lyon, the president of SVA, asked me to introduce him this morning. I've known Jared for many, many years. In fact, I hired the Bearded Wonder, and I have many nicknames for Jared when he graduated from Florida State to come work for me at Syracuse University. When Jared arrived at Syracuse, let's just say he was a raw talent. In the Air Force, if he was a young airman working for me, I would have described him as someone who was all thrust, no vector. There were times when Jared drove me absolutely crazy. Most of those moments came when he had a microphone in front of him, because Jared loves the sound of his own voice. But then there were also those moments when Jared blew me away with his insight and his passion for this work. I can honestly say now that after more than a decade working in the veterans community, I've encountered very few individuals as committed, as passionate, and as selflessly attuned to the concerns of the nation's veterans as is the case with Jared. So I am tremendously proud of what he's accomplished at SBA. I'm even more proud of who he's become as a person, a husband, and a leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome your fearless leader and my favorite leprechaun, Jared Lyon.
Welcome to the roast of Jared Lyon. Thank you, Dr. Mike Haney. Not too bad for an airman, I guess. So, good morning, NatCon. So I am in the room of the most motivated and inspirational generation of leaders that I've ever come across, and I think we can do a little bit better. Good morning, NatCon. Outstanding. And to everyone watching at home via Facebook Live, good morning to you as well. As a recovering sailor, I'll do my best not to curse, but no guarantees. So, the first course that I ever took in my journey in higher education after I separated from active duty in the Navy was a public speaking course at a small community college in the east coast of Florida. And that public speaking course was the hardest B that I ever earned. But I took away one key lesson, and that was to get to know your audience. So I'd love to start off this morning by getting to know each and every one of you just a little bit better. So if you could sound off in any way that you feel is most representative of your spirit, where is the United States Army? Not bad, Army, not bad. Where are my sisters and brothers, the world's finest Navy? Well done, Navy. How about the Air Force? The best etiquette in the business, really, fantastic. And where is the smallest branch, but often regarded as the meanest? Where are my United States Marines? There's literally only like 30 of them here, but they fill the room. And speaking of being small but mighty, where is the world's best Coast Guard? They are here. They are here. And we will hear them. Well done, Coast Guard. Well done, Coast Guard. And I'd be remiss if I did not take a moment to acknowledge those military-connected family members, those individuals whose families serve currently, or those supporters and allies. Without you, we couldn't do anything. So let's all give it up for supporters, allies, and family members. I I am genuinely thrilled to be here in front of the largest NatCon audience that SVA has ever brought together. I'm humbled and I'm proud to be in your presence. The sheer number of you here fulfills the first half of our goal at this year's national conference, and that is joining together. We are joining together here as 2,306 of us join here together. We are the largest single gathering of post 9/11 veterans and supporters in the nation to date. Let that sink in for a minute. You, those here assembled in Orlando, are the largest gathering of your generation of veterans in the world. We join together to learn. We join together to share lessons and best practices. We join together to build better student organizations back at home. We join together to build better communities on campuses. We join together to support communities off campuses where we live and raise our children and care for our families, however we define them. Speaking of families, I'd like to give a special shout out to my little brother, Stephen Lyon, who's in the audience. Thank you for being here and supporting me. Give it up for Stephen. He's got a beard too. It's not bad. But we also join together to support each other. So who are we? Who is SVA? We're all the product of a handful of student veterans, much like yourselves, who gathered in 2008 and founded Student Veterans of America. On January 11th, Student Veterans of America turns 11 years old. And for us, it's always been about the grassroots movement of post 9/11 veterans, military-connected students, family members, survivors, allies, and advocates who come together to build the tools and organizations that are empowering a new generation of veterans to take their place as the leaders of our nation. The power of us joining together is our history. When SVA began, for the first time, a generation of veterans was not restricted by geography to find each other. Ours was a generation who had the advent of social media. So back in 2006, 3 student veterans in Wisconsin, Michigan, and New York were talking on, of all places, MySpace. Yes, that's right, it's my opinion that SVA is the best thing to have ever come from MySpace. Is anyone still friends with Tom? Our founders were student veterans who figured out that while the Montgomery GI Bill was good, there were important components that it missed. It was out of date for today's veterans and for a global war on multiple fronts that was already one of the nation's longest, even back then. By joining together, our founders mapped out a plan that they began work on with a couple of U.S. senators who were supportive of a new GI Bill, Senators Jim Webb and Chuck Hagel, both of them Vietnam veterans. They organized a grassroots movement to help pass what would become known as the post 9/11 GI Bill. As the major push to pass the post 9/11 GI Bill began, student veterans from 20 different colleges and universities joined together, and in January of 2008, they gathered in a snowy suburb of Chicago, Illinois, for our first ever SVA National Conference. During that conference, we passed a resolution uniting 20 independent student veteran organizations into one national organization. On January 11th, 2008, Student Veterans of America was officially born. The new GI Bill, as it was called back then, opened opportunities not just for our generation of military veterans, but for our families and survivors. It changed everything. But it wasn't perfect. Like so many laws that pass through the sausage factory that is the Washington, D.C. legislative process. So once again, in 2017, we joined together with more than 60 organizations to incorporate over 16 bills and mobilize hundreds of lawmakers in passing a GI Bill that would continue for all future generations of student veterans. This new law safeguards your GI Bill beyond the previous 15-year limit. So those who join the workforce right after service in the military will keep the opportunity to attend college at a time that works best for them and for their families. And with our partners, we made sure that our surviving family members could use those benefits to get their educations as well. The new law supports students through scholarship to pursue degrees in science, technology, engineering, math, those STEM degrees that are needed to keep our country competitive. We changed the rules so that every Purple Heart recipient has a full GI Bill, regardless of their time in service. By joining together, we passed Forever GI Bill. And now, even more of our fellow veterans and their family members can get the educations they need to succeed and lead today and tomorrow with a GI Bill that is not merely a cost of war, but better, a right of service for life. However, despite the great work to get the GI Bill passed, the impactful provisions that the Forever GI Bill created, implementing the law, like its predecessors, is coming with immense challenges. As we all saw last semester, the changes in housing allowances wreaked havoc on the VA's education IT system and left thousands of students with delayed and incorrect housing payments. It was unacceptable. SVA raised the flag on potential issues last year and continued to call for attention, change, and putting students first in the initial signs of trouble and in the months that followed. We did this through letters, congressional testimony, and through many, many meetings, working proactively with our partners. In response, VA just announced a few weeks ago that they were going to reset their implementation plan specific to housing allowance changes. And as the Secretary confirmed for you all today, that commitment remains strong. This reset is going to allow the VA to step off on the right foot and create a better path that will better serve students and schools. While the reset was needed, our work is not done. This new situation means a new process, and SVA will continue to be there, ready to speak up on behalf of those most directly impacted by the VA's decisions, all of you here in Orlando, and of course, for students across the country. We join together on our campuses to be stronger, to support each other, and to build a community. I've visited personally 319 campuses and chapters over the last 4 years. I'm always humbled to meet chapter leaders and active duty members of their SVA chapters who have stepped up to have their community of veterans join together. Today, we're joining here in Orlando as representatives of the 1,528 SVA chapters in all 50 states and 4 countries overseas. Our SVA chapters represent nearly 750,000 of the 1.1 million veterans and family members in college right now, using VA benefits to earn their degrees. We join together as the largest chapter-based student organization in the country. We join together as the 3rd largest veteran organization in the country, alongside our good friends at the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, who honor us by being here today, and without whom we wouldn't have been able to accomplish all the things we have accomplished, and we're doing it together. We're joining here together because our story is just beginning. We served our nation. Some of us saw combat, some of us didn't. Some of us supported our warfighters overseas. Some of us maintained our units back at home, and many of us still serve on active duty or in Guard and Reserve units. Some of us are even deployed right now, like our own National Headquarters team member, Will Hubbard, from our Government Affairs Department. He's actually watching this live stream right now from Afghanistan, and he's currently serving United States Marine Corps reservist. Some of us were injured or disabled from our service, while many of us fight to bear the challenges of daily life in addition to going to college. Nevertheless, we persist. As today's student veterans, we earn better grades than our civilian counterparts. We graduate at higher rates than our peers who have never served in the military. We continue to great jobs after graduation and lead in our communities. We do more than just survive, we thrive, and we're thriving together. But we're not done yet. The second half of our goal for NatCon this year is to drive tomorrow. It's time we focus on your future and our nation's future. How many of you all know that person who is still living in what they did back in uniform? Maybe they're here with us today. And you know what? If they are, that's okay. We can be proud of what we did in the military. We were all called to service when we joined the military. We were forged and tempered into leaders as a result of that military service, and we became part of something bigger than ourselves at a really young age. But what's next after something as life-changing as military service? How do we fully embrace that next step? Humbly, I offer you this thought. Many of you are familiar with the concept in close quarters combat and situational awareness called being left of bang. The United States Marine Corps has programs dedicated to this concept, along with many others in security and law enforcement. The concept is about being aware and taking actions ahead of when potential violence may occur, the bang of a gun or a bomb. To be to the right of bang is to be reactive, but being left of bang provides the opportunity to be proactive. Think about how being proactive supports the mission in combat. It's about completing training, investing in technology, and being attuned to what's happening around you so that you can be ahead of when an act of violence will occur and prevent violence from happening. The goal of being left of bang is to ensure that we are doing things in the way in which violence is not the result. Our country and our veterans community have faced tough times since SVA got organized nearly 11 years ago. As a generation of veterans, we have faced record unemployment, homelessness, mental health challenges, and a host of other issues. Those issues I've just mentioned are our proverbial bang in the veteran community. They are that moment when everything does change. The bang for SVA is a veteran without a job or in a dead-end job, a veteran who is homeless on the street or living on someone else's couch without a home to call their own. The bang is a veteran with a mental health crisis who might be considering her or his own life. The bang is a veteran considering dropping out of college because she or he doesn't feel like they fit in, or the bang is a veteran unable to find a way to fit into their community, a veteran without hope. Much of what is done in the veteran support community is about helping those vulnerable sisters and brothers to the right of bang, retroactively, or in the moment of crisis. Responding is crucial. Get someone a job or get them off the streets. Find a mental health professional, or even worse, find the anonymous veteran, wherever they might be, as she or he threatens to kill themselves. Get them the support in our communities immediately after they separate from service. These are important efforts, and they have reduced unemployment. They've reduced suicide, homelessness, dropping out of college, and many of the other challenges in our community. And all of it matters so much, but we are so grateful for the organizations and the leaders that are addressing each of those challenges. But if you think about it, that's not SVA. Student Veterans of America, at its very core, is an organization being dedicated to being left of bang. SVA exists to ensure that those bangs never happen. As sisters and brothers in arms, we are here to see you choose the best college, to succeed in education, to lead your campuses and your community, and to succeed in your second career after graduation. We're here to connect you to those who are making sure the bang or a crisis never happens. But if it does, that there's a quick recovery from whatever the challenge you might face would be. SVA is getting far left of bang by advocating for legislation and improved benefits to support student veterans, military-connected students, survivors, and family members in higher education. We're far left of bang when we help you find the right college or major. And we're being proactive when we help build protections that restore your GI Bill when colleges close or when defrauded student loan borrowers get debt relief. We're there building connections with colleges and universities so that they understand, as Mike mentioned, the value that you bring to their campuses. And it's paying off. We're stepping up to build connections with higher education associations like AAUC, the American Council on Education, ACRO, NAVPA, and NASPA. We're sharing veteran success with them at their conferences and meetings and convenings so that those professionals in higher education understand who we are, high potential students who are achieving in higher education. We're there sustaining connections with other organizations that serve veterans, such as Team Red, White, and Blue, Team Rubicon, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the Mission Continues, the Travis Manion Foundation, Veterans in Global Leadership, Warrior Scholar Project, Service to School, Disabled American Veterans, Wounded Warrior Project, AMVETS, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, TAPS, the American Legion, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars, all of whom are here to connect with you on the campus. These and other organizations, including the George W. Bush Presidential's Military Service Initiative and their recently launched Veteran Leadership Program, as well as its Warrior Wellness Alliance, foster connections to help you continue service. And if you head down to the campus today or tomorrow, you can even sign up with Warriors Connect to donate your public-facing social media and fitness tracker data to identify more precise solutions to mental health care, not just for you, but for all Americans. And you could do what I plan to do, which is to text Warriors to 2100 for more information. I consider it as easy as donating blood. Employers are here for you to provide opportunities and to connect with you and your chapters to hire for jobs, internships, and careers. They're also here to support you when you get back to campus with raising funds that you might need to serve vital programs. At your SVA National Headquarters in Washington, D.C., everything we do is to build chapters to prepare that the bang never happens. And speaking of your national headquarters, so many of you over the past years have stopped by and visited. When I describe it, I say your national headquarters for a reason, because that's in fact just what it is. Our headquarters staff is just keeping the lights on, so please come and visit us at any time at 14th and K Street, right across the street from VA's central office. And just like every good veteran center on campus, we have bad coffee, free Wi-Fi, and printing. What all of you are doing by seeking higher education is about being left of bang. And what you are doing at your chapters and your campuses is both preventative and proactive. With a college degree, you can secure a good career. With education, you can find a home and work that supports you. In an SVA chapter, you'll have peers and you will make lifelong friends who will be there for you whenever challenges come. With SVA, you can find a community of diverse people who share your passion for service and beyond. With community, you can change the world. I believe this because many of you are already changing the world around you. All of these student veterans here today in higher education and building local SVA chapters, we're doing so to be as inclusive and supportive of each other as possible. And I'm proud to say that by any measure, it's working. We're succeeding because we joined together. We're gathered here in Orlando for NatCon thanks to the incredible array of private companies, fellow nonprofits, and supporters that have come together to invest in you. You might be asked when you're back on campus, whether it be by your college president, fellow traditional students, or potential new members to your SVA chapter, what is SVA's impact at the national and local level? What are the numbers that show that SVA is doing something important that will justify their support? And what are the numbers that allow them to see an impact? In many measures, veterans are doing well compared to the Americans who have not worn the cloth of their nation. Veterans have a dramatically lower unemployment rate now compared to just a couple of years ago, and thanks to the work from our corporate friends here today and organizations like Direct Employers, Hiring Our Heroes, and the Veterans Jobs Mission, the rate of veteran unemployment is going down. The rate of homelessness has dropped by nearly 50%, thanks to the heroic efforts of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the Housing and Urban Development Department and key nonprofits. An aspect of that is my dear friend, the former Secretary of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, who's with us, Secretary Bob McDonald. Thanks for being here, Bob. Thank you for all you continue to do for us, brother. I appreciate it. Mental health care is more available to our veterans than ever before with organizations such as the Warrior Wellness Alliance, Psych Armor, the Cohen Veteran Network, Headstrong, and Vets for Warriors. But I tell anyone who asks that investing in student veterans means being proactive and creating an opportunity for a new generation of student veterans. By taking the time and dollars and putting them towards SVA programs and chapter support activities, they are investing in you right now. Investing at SVA means ensuring veterans have the educational benefits that they deserve and little or no student debt when we graduate. Investing at SVA means transitioning service members, survivors, and their families are entering the education programs that make the most sense for the use of their precious GI Bill benefits and award them degrees and certifications that lead to productive careers after graduation. Investing in student veterans contributes to shape tomorrow's entrepreneurs, and it does it today. It's an investment to create exceptional team members, to plant leaders in communities, and to make sure that every veteran on campus knows our nation's veterans. It's an investment in the caregivers for our wounded so that they can persist in their new journey. Investing in SVA means a renewed commitment to those Americans preparing to take their next step. Investing at SVA means investing in our nation's future like few other investments can. Our nation faces incredible challenge today as the old world order continues to evolve. The global war on terror is stretching into its 18th year. Our economy sits on a bubble that could go so many different ways. Grassroots political efforts are fighting key battles that matter to today's generation and to those that will follow us. My charge, my request to all of you here in this room is, will you join me in living left of bang? Will you step up to invest and take the time now to build a path and set a course that allows all to avoid potential mishaps that have taken so many of our peers down terrible paths? On the back of our national headquarters challenge coin is a sentiment that I believe in, and it defines our ethos. Inscribed, it says, "The nation that makes a great distinction between its scholars and its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools." This serves as the ethos for our motto, which is simple. We are yesterday's warriors, today's scholars, and tomorrow's leaders. I want you all to be that which is represented by our motto. Yesterday's warriors who are today's scholars and who are now going to be the leaders of tomorrow. We need you now more than ever to understand that by being in college, by being proactive on campus, and with your SVA chapter, you are in fact investing in yourselves. Our country faces an unprecedented deficit in leadership, and I remain convinced that you, a highly educated generation of veterans, are the solution that our country so desperately needs. Will you join me in answering the call to a second service toward the benefit of all Americans by promoting dignity, humanity, and civility? Will you join me in bridging what divides us by reaching out to those who are different from you, with different life experiences? Will you join me in being the solution to what challenges our nation? You have the capacity for the job. You are prepared for the task at hand. It's not going to be easy, and there's a long road ahead. But shit, when did we ever choose the easy path? We're veterans, right? So much for not swearing. I believe in you, and your fellow citizens and your neighbors across this great land are continuing to count on you. I know it's a lot of pressure, but you are up to the task. I have watched you now all for 3 years as your national president and CEO, and even before as a student veteran myself at Florida State University and later in grad school at Syracuse. You, each of you, and every one of you are up to this task. Will you step up and live left of Bang? As student veterans, we lead the way for our peers, for our campuses, for our communities, for our country, and for our world. The reason is really quite simple. You answered our nation's call to service once, and you proudly joined the most lethal fighting force for freedom and democracy that our world has ever known. Your country needs your service again. Now as veterans, and especially as educated veterans, America needs your leadership. I'm honored to be in this room with you. I'm humbled to be in your presence. And I look forward to all of us joining together here and at home as we leave everything that we see, everything that we lead, and everyone we come into contact with better than we found them. Because together, we will drive tomorrow. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. Thank you for the work that you are doing here with your fellow sisters and brothers in arms, your supporters and your allies, and thank you for all the ass you're going to continue to kick when you get back to campus. Thank you all for being here.